So again, this is an agree-disagree prompt. Modern technology now allows instant and uncontrolled access to an exchange of information. Far from being beneficial, this is a danger to society. To what extent do you agree or disagree? What do we have to talk about in this prompt?
Instant and uncontrolled access to the exchange of information, or whether we are agreed with the prompt or not.
Yes, and I strongly suggest you give 2 reasons for agreeing or 2 reasons for disagreeing. Don't try and do, I agree in some ways, I disagree in others. It's too much potential for not having a clear opinion. So what do you think? Is this instant and uncontrolled access to an exchange of information good for society or bad for society?
Good for society.
Okay. Why?
Like nowadays, like this, there is uncertainty everywhere. So it is good that you will hold information regarding your loved ones. Like in case of emergencies, you can use you can call them. Use of like if you have a mobile, you can call them and you will know how they are doing.
Okay.
So I think it is beneficial than the danger.
So a lot of people answer the question this way, and it's off topic. Because you're talking to your loved ones on a cell phone. Is that an example of instant and uncontrolled access to information?
It is instant and
But is it access to information or is it communication?
It is instant, but uncontrolled access to exchange.
See, that's not an example of access to information.
Yeah.
That's an example of simple communication.
Okay.
So don't go there because it'll be off topic. So what might they be talking about? I think that's what people aren't too familiar with. Why might this kind of, why would anyone think this is a danger to society? That's probably where we should start with this question.
Because it's uncontrolled?
Yeah. What kind of information might they be talking about?
Personal and private information, such as your telephone number, your address, where you live. I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah. What other kind of information is available online?
Credit card.
Now you're getting into hacking territory. Okay. You're getting into hacking territory, and that's also putting you in danger of going off topic.
But it is written uncontrolled access to exchange of information. The focus is on the exchange of information.
Both.
So what kind of information that we exchange is uncontrolled?
Well, you got to think of something.
Yeah. Like YouTube, we have access to YouTube or Google maybe.
Yes. And can people say whatever they want on YouTube?
Yes.
Can people say whatever they want on their website?
Yes, like Facebook, like social media. People are doing, yeah.
So what kind of information that gets shared might be problematic, lead to real consequences in the real world?
Politics.
Oh, yeah, now I understand.
Politics, maybe. But finding, okay, maybe. Can you develop that idea, Kelly?
Okay, I'm going to give you my own experience. I do have an account in Instagram and also in Twitter. A couple of months ago, I met a an opinion in Twitter about my country, which is Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm punished. I'm not allowed to go back.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like I want to go back, but yeah, definitely.
So you're not allowed to go back to Venezuela?
No, because it's politics.
Or you're not allowed to go back on Twitter or
I'm not allowed
Instagram?
to go on Twitter because I made a comment.
So you're not allowed to go back on Twitter?
Because
Okay.
I reveal information about politics.
Yeah, but people talk about politics all the time on Twitter.
Well, they closed my account.
Oh, okay.
So I was revealing information and probably uncontrolled. And yeah, that's what happened.
Okay. Now, why might what you shared be a danger to society? Or why might other people, like, why do you think they considered it a danger to society, that it was so, that what you were saying was so dangerous that your account needed to be closed?
Basically because it was a private information. Yeah. It's not like it was uncontrolled. It was there all the time. So I made my opinion and they decided it was not correct and they closed it. So I was exchanging an opinion about specific information.
Okay, but in order to use that example here, you, like right now it's too vague. I still really understand, I don't understand what happened. And maybe you don't want to share that, that's fine. But to use that kind of example for this prompt, you would have to explain how the information you were sharing was potentially dangerous to society. Like you can generalize from that example and think, okay, so why did the powers that be, why did the people who own this website or this platform decide that what I was saying was a danger to society? Like there's certain things you're not supposed to reveal. And that's because of privacy issues. That's not really such a...
Yeah, so what happened is basically someone make a comment on Twitter and I was totally disagree. So what I said, the only reason Venezuela have problem is because it's the regime. The only solution, it will be disappear the regime. So the guy said, you suggesting to kill everyone? I said, well, that's the only option. That's why they removed me from the Twitter.
Okay, so that's a good example because you are counseling violence, which is illegal. Right? You're not allowed to counsel people to commit violence. That's a crime probably in every country.
Yes.
So maybe they didn't do such a bad thing.
Yeah, it was basically a personal opinion. And I already expressed my my thesis, and I said, I didn't say directly that you should kill it, but that's the only option I can think of. I mean, I will never do it, that's for sure.
Yeah, but so the problem is you're counseling other people, and when people see this kind of information online,
they get violent.
They get violent and they start to think that, oh, violence is okay because all these people are in favor of violence. If everyone were condemning violence, then people would not get these ideas that this is somehow okay.
Yeah, well, it was my opinion. I'm not violent. I'm Buddhist. I'm Buddhist, by the way. I'm not violent. But yeah, but that's what happened. So some of them was saying, well, the only solution is just basically to continue fighting with the new president and remove the regime, the dictator. But then I said, it's not going to happen like that. For sure, it's been 20 years with the same problem. The only solution is, unfortunately, to do something more drastic. And then is when he said, are you suggesting what I'm thinking you're doing, like actually killing? So, well, what other suggestion is there? That's the only way. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was punished. Oh, well, I'm still giving
So
my
that's a
opinion on YouTube. Don't worry.
okay.
Jan, how about the that nuclear plant leak at Pickering? People got scared, so and they started sharing the information. Can we use that?
Yeah, because that's a great example too, because it has the potential for spreading panic for no reason.
And it was a wrong information.
Mm-hmm. Now you're on the right track, because bad information spreads probably more quickly than correct information. Because this kind of information causes people to panic, and it's panic inducing, and that's why it spreads quickly, right? Because people are scared and they want to warn other people, but that information spreads before anyone checks whether it's correct or not.
Okay. Have you heard the last news about Donald Trump having coronavirus?
Mm-hmm.
Could be also used in this case as well? Because people don't think it's real. They're trying to postpone the elections. So that could be an uncontrolled information.
Control information, if this is the intention.
But that's been a theme throughout Donald Trump's presidency, right? That information spreads, and it's the analysis of the information has become more common. Whenever politicians are sharing information now, these organizations have come up that fact check what they're saying, and it turns out that a huge percentage of what politicians say is completely fabricated. It's a lie. But that information has spread, and the fact checkers, people don't want to know if the information they're sharing is true or not after they have shared it, because then they feel stupid, right? So after people have shared this kind of information, their ears and their minds are closed to follow-up information that might disprove what they said earlier. It's called cognitive dissonance. Once people decide on an opinion, on a position, they will ignore contradictory information. There was, they sent a reporter to a Trump rally, and they were asking people at the rally what their primary source of news was. What do you think a lot of them said? What do you think their primary source of news was, or is?
TV?
Sorry?
TV?
No. Facebook.
Oh.
And not Facebook news, but Facebook groups.
Yeah.
So people belong to groups, like special interest groups, like gun rights groups, pro-Trump groups, survivalist groups, whatever. And that's where they get their news from. It's members sharing the news. So this reporter was asking people about the news they had shared, like recent news stories. And then he had a list of these stories, and he had a list of stories that have been disproven. For example, there was a story about Joe Biden falling asleep during a meeting or during some kind of a government meeting. And it turned out it had been completely photoshopped, like the equivalent of photoshopping for a video. that they just stuck Joe Biden's face on this other person who had fallen asleep.
Mm.
And when the reporter pointed out that what this person had shared and what this person believed about Joe Biden based on this fake story, you know what the person responded? He said, well, it could be true. He completely didn't care that what he believed was nonsense. His brain immediately found a way to rationalize what he'd done by saying, well, it could be true. Right?
So I was going through a newspaper, and it was written that there was a indigenous lady, mother of 6. She was ill and she was admitted in the hospital. And what happened? The nurses there were treating her very bad. So she opened her this Facebook account and she broadcasted their yelling live on the chat. Yeah.
Awesome. That's
And
fantastic.
what happened, and she died. Unfortunately, she died after that.
Mhm.
And then it was like 2 and 3 days ago, I read in the news. So what happened, the government took the action and they they fired both of the nurses, and the inquiry is now held on this. So is it we can give an example like
Yeah,
this as well?
absolutely. So you would be disagreeing. You would be saying that this is fantastic for society.
Yeah,
That's a
sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
wonderful example. Like when my mother-in-law was in a large nursing home chain
Mm-hmm.
here in Toronto, her
Mm-hmm.
treatment there, the treatment of all the patients there by the staff was just disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Like she had uh, injuries that went untreated for weeks at a time.
Mm-hmm.
There was just filth. The nurses were, let's say, aggressive. Um, it was just really, really appalling conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And she was suffering from dementia at the time, so she was not able to share anything that was happening. She just suffered immensely in silence because she couldn't communicate what was happening.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah, in a lot of cases, the instant sharing and exchange of information is critical. Right? Now, let's talk about a couple other examples, and these are going to be in the model. The first one is about sharing medical information. So this is a recurring theme. People have been talking about this for years, and even Google, I believe, did an update recently. So that when you're searching for medical information, they've removed alternative medicine websites from the results. Do you think that's a good idea or not?
Self-medication is bad, always.
What kind of medication is bad?
Self-medication,
Mm-hmm.
like without any uh, advice from the doctor, because our teacher used to say that the Google don't go to the Google doctor.
Dr.
Because,
Google?
yeah, Dr. Google,
Okay.
because the doctor, they have experience, like they read and they have experience, and in Google there is information which is not reliable. So most of the information is not reliable. So people, what they do, they usually go and they will read from the Google, and then they come and ask the doctor, this is the treatment recommended, and you are giving us this. So this is not the fact, because the doctor knows from the very start what is the disease and how it is going to be treated. But the Google will give you the lump sum idea, and the people follow that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not good. And you can edit even. It
And
is
you're
not.
going to what even?
Sorry.
What was the last thing you said? You're going to
Like we can edit it. It is not published data the people usually talk about. You could say gray data, not published index books data. So it is not reliable. Like when we read, they will ask us to read from the data that is published. Don't go to browse and read the literature. So we usually go and look for the books, index books, journals, and we will take our data from there. But in routine people, they will go and they will search, and whatever is there, they believe this is right.
Right, and that's the human condition, is that we're intellectually lazy. We want answers very quickly. So instead of, like what your teacher said, that's what we tell students in high school too. Don't just go to people's blogs or company websites when you're researching your projects. You have to go find the original source data on government websites and scientific journals, and then look at that primary information first. But everyone's lazy and they just want to jump onto someone's blog who's done all the thinking, all the analysis for them, and who's just going to give them like a 1 or 2 sentence summary of what all that information really means, so that they don't have to go through it themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Okay. The other example that's covered in the model that we're going to look at today is Google Maps. What do you think of Google Maps? How might that be connected to this prompt?
Like GPRS?
GPS is part of it.
Yeah, we are using that for to go somewhere. So I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Does Google Maps perhaps hurt people's security or safety, potentially?
Yeah, it can be, because if you know where he's going and if you want to do something bad, you can easily do it. But it is safe as well, because when we travel in a Uber, it will let us know where we are going.
Okay, hang on. I don't want to go down the road of hacking. A lot of people, when they see this, they start talking about hacking. There's a huge danger of going off topic in that, because that's criminality. They're not referring to criminality in the prompt here. They're just talking about legal, common practices that are widespread on the internet. Not when people like steal your credit card data because some department store had inadequate security on their website. So we're not talking about hacking into Uber. I've also seen examples where, and this is legitimate, that people post like vacation photos on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or people are on Facebook and they're posting pictures of where they are right now. And then if someone is monitoring your Facebook feed, and obviously if they see that you just posted a picture of you and your kids doing something on a camping trip, clearly you're not home. So why don't we go break into your house? That has a big danger of going off topic too.
Yes. Yeah.
So we don't want to go there either. Is there some other way that Google Maps might affect your security? Or is there a way that maybe criminals could use Google Maps to plan a robbery?
Yes, they can. They will see when, if there is a traffic, or they can monitor the time when the traffic is low, and then they will go there and will hide. And when there is someone like alone, they can rob them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They can use the traffic information to help them plan their escape.
Yeah.
The other thing is too, you know the like the aerial photography view on Google Maps?
Yes, yes.
You've got the map view. It's like basically black and white. It's just pictures rather. But then you've got the aerial view, which is composed of pictures, right?
Yes.
So what does that aerial view reveal about your property, for example, that could be useful to robbers?
Like
Let's
if
say, yeah, go
car
ahead.
is parked in the driveway, so they can see it. If your car is not there, they will know that you are not
But
home.
it's careful. It's not a live view. It's not a live view. There's not like a spy satellite that turns on to see Zuby's house right now. Those photos could be a couple years old. They could be recent. They could be a few years old.
This is not live view.
No. That would mean there would have to be drones all over our houses all the time transmitting a live view. So when you go on that Google Maps where it shows the picture view of a landscape, like not the map view but the picture view, that's not live.
Okay, I thought it's live. Because it changes, I think.
The traffic changes, yeah, but they don't have drones flying all over the place, constantly taking new pictures, new aerial photos. That would require an army of drones daily, kind of sweeping over the city back and forth, updating the view. If, let's say, criminals know that you've got cameras on your house, you've got a big house, big property, you've got cameras on your house, and they can see those cameras from the street, for example. They drive by your house, they take a photo of your house, they can see where the cameras are, where they're pointed. So on an aerial view, what you can see is you can see like the bushes and the trees on people's property. You can use that information to plan how you're going to approach a house to avoid being seen.
Yes.
You can use that information to see what the parkland looks like and what the other properties look like around the house that you're targeting. Like where you're going to maybe jump over a fence or a ravine that you're going to escape down. So it provides this kind of information that wasn't available before, unless you actually flew over someone's house and took your own photos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I use a lot the Google Maps, but for the, you know, if I go to here from a farm or something, right, with the children, I use it a lot. So is that like kind of a danger? I use it like,
well, your particular example, no.
okay,
But we're
it's like the other one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the prompt is modern technology allows instant uncontrolled access to an exchange of information. So that's neutral so far.
Okay.
It's great, it's possibly bad, but the statement is, far from being beneficial, this is a danger to society. Do you agree or disagree? So you can answer either
Yes
way
or
you
no.
want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an other example, like when we share our location, like my sister has access to my location, like I allowed her. So whenever I'm out in a mall and something, she knows that I'm there, and she instantly messaged me, oh, you're in the mall, you're doing shopping, or you're doing something. So
Be careful with that example, because is that information publicly shared or is it only shared with your sister?
Only with your sister.
Then don't use that example.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not public. If that were publicly shared, then that would be incredibly dangerous because strangers could find you anytime and they would know when you're not home instantly.
Yeah.
So that's an example of hacking, and we're going to stay away from that because we're getting away from the prompt by doing that.
Okay.
So this is
okay. You know, I think I will go that is more that is a danger, because I don't know, I'm an ignorant, that's why. But my son knows, and he protects a lot his account and everything. I think it's more danger.
So the examples that you use in this, they need to be examples of information that's publicly available all the time, not that people can hack into to get. So we're not talking about stealing credit card information. We're not talking about hacking in and getting your location information. We're talking about information that's there all the time. So the examples that we talked about, for example, medical information, like alternative cures, right? That's there all the time. You've got millions of websites. There's nothing stopping from anyone opening up their own website and giving their own health advice, which is potentially, obviously, life-threatening, right?
Yeah, I will go that this is more, is danger. Yeah.
The other example that Kelly was talking about is people spreading whatever they want through social media, and that information travels around the world instantly, and it possibly leads to very dangerous social situations, like people sharing just what's happening in the States, right? People are sharing information on social media, and all of a sudden and this information is being used to organize protests. So you can argue either way, whether that's a good thing or whether that's a bad thing. But social media is very closely monitored in most countries in the world in order to keep an eye on people, in order to find out who's organizing protests, where these are being organized, because potentially that's incredibly dangerous for the stability of a country. Now, your perspective on that will totally differ based on how you feel about the government, whether you feel that the government is legitimate or illegitimate. Remember, Twitter was being praised years ago for the Arab Spring, right? So-called Arab Spring. But today, that people's opinions about this information spreading are more nuanced because a lot of misinformation spreads. The whole thing with the information being spread by Russia prior to the last election where Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. Right? A lot of the stories that were being spread turned out it was totally untrue, but nobody fact checks this. There's nothing stopping you from purchasing ads on Facebook that are complete nonsense. Facebook will very happily take your money and publish whatever crap you want to publish. So it's easy to argue that Facebook is a huge danger to society, right? Because there's zero control over what is being spread.
And you know what? In some meetings that I have with very well and trained people, like very serious scientific, they're not in here, they're not on the sites. They were saying people that were trying to help when I was in there, I'm not in there anymore, but when they're trying to help us to be on internet, they say, like, I don't remember if 70% or 80% for those very well trained people in scientific train, you were not able to find them on internet.
What do you mean you're not able to find them on the internet?
Like, they were trying to help us with technology. I mean, to help them. I'm not consider that I was in there, right? So, but if in that time was a couple years ago, if you want to find one of those therapies, they were not on internet. They were not advertised on internet. So that guy who wants to help was a consultant. They hired him.
Mm-hmm.
They say, I was looking for like 70% of you. I don't know if 70 or 80. You were not in there. Probably now is better, right? But yeah, like science, like it's like information, like the source, like we need to be careful to find the sources, right? Like serious sources. As you said, we can just go for the first tweet, right? So I think if we are lazy,
Mm-hmm.
which I think the most of our are, I wanna consider myself now in that is more danger, right? So if you are very well educated and have the time, so you will get what they're right. But I think considering the whole population, yeah, it could be a danger. Even for me, for my son, like he wants giving me arguments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, where did you get that information, right? I get it from here. So I have to lead him to get in good sources, right?
Yep.
But he was like, no, and I said, no, that's not a source. So you have to lead. But if you just let them, they can go they can easily go for a bad information or on trust information, right?
Yeah, and this is hardwired. The problem is hardwired into how social media works, and even how, especially how something like Facebook works, because Facebook recommends stories to you based on what you like to read about. So it's not going to give you both sides of an issue. It's only going to give you the one side that you already believe in. So it just reinforces what people already believe. And what people already believe, in many cases, is untrue.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not natural to seek out information that disconfirms what you believe. People want their beliefs reinforced, not challenged. Right? And when
So you're
people
gonna go, yeah, you're right. We're gonna go for what we believe, as you said.
right, and Facebook is just going to feed you that. You're going to you're going to keep scrolling through your news, and all those news stories are meant for you only. So your news feed is unique to you. And so everyone is trapped in what's called an echo chamber. It's a good expression because you're screaming into the internet, and the internet is just screaming back at you what you're screaming into the internet. Oh, this is how you believe? Well, guess what? Lots of other people believe the same thing. Here's a bunch of stories written by people who believe what you already believe. Right? And then you read this crap and you're like, oh yeah, all these other people believe what I do. I must be right. Right? And nobody wants to read information from the other side. That's on both sides of the political spectrum. And yeah, we're absolutely incredibly lazy. And we just want ready answers. There's an old saying, 2% of the people think, 3% of the people think they think, and 95% of the people would rather die than think.
Well, that would be, yes. Yeah, it's in a human. Yeah, we go for the easiest way. It's part of our nature. Yeah, the less effort, the better. Yeah.
See, there's two words that are often kind of confused. One is rational, and the other is rationalizing. So a rational decision would be, let's say you're a purchasing agent for a business, and your company needs to buy new computers for all the office workers. So you go to Dell, you go to HP, you read all the specs for all the computers, you talk to the company about some kind of training, some kind of service, some kind of extended warranty. And, the computers all look the same, right? So you don't care about how they look, just what their performance is, how much it's going to cost you, what kind of support they offer. Then you're going to have a T-chart that lists the pros and cons of both alternatives. You're going to add them up like an accountant and make a logical decision. That's being rational. But rationalizing means you make a decision based on your feelings, and then you come up with the logical reasons afterwards to justify the decision you've already made. If that makes any sense. I think most people are rationalizing. They make split-second decisions based on gut instinct, which is often quite faulty because you don't have enough background information. Or they go for nice, shiny objects like jewelry or fancy cars because they really want them. And then afterwards, they come up with all these reasons why they spent $3,000 or $4,000 on an Apple laptop, right? Or why they spent $4,000 on a watch, or why they're driving a $90,000 car when they're broke, right? It's not like they're thinking ahead of time before making these decisions. They're making the decision because they really, really, really want that thing, and they come up with the reasons afterwards. We've got friends, they're completely broke, and they just bought a brand new Tesla, and they bought it because the guy is in love with the car. And he rationalized it to himself by saying, but look how much money I'm spending on look how much money I'm saving on gas. And it's like, dude, you could have bought 2 Lexuses for the price of that one Tesla. You could have bought 1 Lexus and enough gas to drive to the sun and back, right? You bought like 50 years worth of gas. So there's not a logical reason behind it. The reasons are coming after the emotional decision, which I think is what guides most decision making on Earth. Right. Anyway, so we've got plenty of examples on both sides. But also, it's very easy to argue that this is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is easy to argue, yes, because yeah, it is. I think it is. There is a lot of good things too. Yeah, it is easy to argue the other way. You know, like people feel more. Well, but we're talking about information. We are talking, as you said, about information in this way. Well, yeah, you're right. It's hard.
Remember, in the old days, when access to information was restricted to the library, to your newspaper, to magazines you subscribed to, and to whatever was on TV. And what was on TV was tightly controlled by the government. Right? When I was growing up in Poland, there were 3 channels. There was Polish Channel 1, Polish Channel 2, and the Russian channel. Actually, I left Poland when I was 3, but I used to visit, so I would see this information that was on TV, and obviously it was 100% controlled by the government. Here, like in the United States, you had 3 TV networks, right, until fairly recently. And the information that was going out was, you know, people could be held responsible for it. It wasn't as sensationalistic. It was better researched. It was more measured in the sense of there wasn't people screaming into the TV camera. It wasn't people getting all excited. It was people who were calmly describing facts as much as possible. Right? But now it's people saying whatever they want over and over and over again, and people have no idea what to believe and what not to believe, because no one is controlling the flow of information. It's unlimited. So that's what the question is about. And you can argue that this is a good thing. You can say, well, our information flow was so tightly controlled before, we only had access to very limited streams of information. And they were controlled by big TV networks, they were controlled by the government, but now I can get anything I want online. a lot of people don't trust their doctors. Okay, but now they have options. So you can argue that maybe this is a good thing. But again, lots of people are harmed by the information that they find online. So it's really mixed. There's pros and cons, definitely, but you should choose one side for IELTS. Right? You could easily write a book on this topic, but you need to just pick a side. It doesn't matter what you believe in your heart. You need to choose the side that's easier for you to explain. Let's have a look at them. Before we look at the model, let's do a little bit of writing. There's not many people here today, so we can look at your thesis statements, okay? Write not a quick and dirty thesis statement, but a full thesis statement that just very briefly, in one sentence, summarizes your position and the two supporting reasons. So you're going to do two things only right now. You're just going to write your introduction paragraph. So you're going to paraphrase the prompt and write a thesis. Context is this business.
So Jan, in the thesis, should we talk about a green statement and disagreeing statement both?
No. One side only.
Only the side that we are going to support.
Yes. So here, so for the intro for IELTS, this is what you're paraphrasing. You have to put that in your own words. You can't copy their words because that's not your writing. So you're paraphrasing the prompt and you're stating whether you agree or disagree, and very, very briefly summarizing your two reasons. So all you're writing right now is 2 sentences only. No more. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes to do that. So I see 2. Let's check it out.
No, Jan, my one is, just ignore it. It's a part of that. I'm just writing my one.
Okay. So Kelly, let's check out yours.
Sorry, I'm just putting it in here.
You're putting it where?
In the chat, right? Just a sec. Okay, there you go. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Kelly, are you there?
Yes, I am.
There we go. Okay, good. In rapid development of modern technology, people have. Okay, the expression you want to use is due to the rapid development of modern technology. Always, always, always like this.
Okay.
People have a chance to get valuable information exchange freely on. Okay, not database, but just data. Database is very specific. Database is be the collection of all the data. So if you've got an online store, then your database would include like all of your customer information, but you don't share database, you share data.
Okay.
People have a chance to get valuable information, exchange data freely on it. Okay. Some people believe that it is, watch out for spacing. I totally disagree. I totally agree that the advantages and threat of technology, you got 2 things, right? It outweighs, they outweigh. The advancement it has brought to us. We'll talk about verb tenses a little bit later, but if you're talking about even things that happened in the past, like the improvement of this technology, it has, you want to talk about the current advantages, right, of the current consequences, so you need to use present perfect for that. Okay, good. So now we've got Olga. Okay. Now, what you want to also add, if you're going to do this, just add for the following reasons. Okay. Olga, source of access. That. Today, in our technology in our days is a source of excess information that is a danger to the society rather than a benefit. This is about parallelism in your writing because you wrote a danger rather than a benefit. So just to keep things parallel, we're going to keep it noun and noun. Now,
Okay.
this needs to be in sentence format, not in point
Okay.
form format.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's it.
So just right now, tell me what how do we put this together?
The first reason that I found, because
Mhm.
the sources that you found, the sources that they, well, it can be like that, are not sensitive. The sources.
Let's do it like this. Sources of information
Okay.
are often unreliable.
To science research.
You don't need more detail for the introduction. You're going to go
Okay.
into
Later. Okay.
The reason is, according to the IELTS marking criteria, all of your marks are in the body paragraphs.
Okay. Okay.
There's no advantage to having a lengthy, detailed introduction because that's not where the examiner is looking for your development of ideas. So just a very, very brief summary.
Okay, so are often unreliable. Okay, thank you. So I can use that. Okay, and
children can have access, or just children have access to extremely dangerous information. Okay, and if it's because it's not real, then that's something you can develop in the body.
Okay.
Technology in our days is a source of excess information that is a danger to the society rather than a benefit because sources of information are often unreliable, okay, and children have access to extremely dangerous information. Yeah, good.
Thank you. Thank you for the corrections. Oh my gosh, I can believe it.
Okay. So now you just got to do a whole essay like that, and that's the process we do. So you do your writing, I'll indicate the problem areas, and then you revise it. I only correct it the second time around. Okay. So this is Chomries. There is an ongoing.
Ian, I understood the way that you asked us to mention an example on the thesis, so I mentioned an example also.
Well, let's have a look. It looks way too big. Just at a glance, this looks like a body paragraph.
Yeah.
That's 100 words, 97 words, too long. There's an ongoing argument. What word is missing here?
There is an ongoing argument. Argument of, about.
Instant and unchecked through the latest technology. Okay, so you these are synonyms,
Yeah.
but they're not good ones.
Okay. So can I use the same ones from the topic?
Can you think of some other options? Oh, let's have a look here. This is our prompt. This is the actual prompt. What's a synonym? Okay, so let's say access. You can't think of a good synonym. Because entrance, yes, in some cases is a synonym for access, but it's not a good one in this case. So we're going to change this back to access. But here, you've got instant and uncontrolled. So unchecked is a good synonym for uncontrolled. But what's a synonym for instant?
Jiffy, Swift,
Rapid?
Immediate?
Immediate?
Immediate. Oh, that's it.
Swift. What I have.
Not swift. Swift is fast. And also another synonym is just instantaneous.
Oh.
Okay. Use an unchecked access to. Access to. And so we don't want to say exchange. Have instantaneous and unchecked access to. Let's just leave it as information. May lead people to the wrong information. It is still very beneficial. We don't need this. A comment I often leave people is tighten your prose.
You have said the same thing in my previous one also.
So the number one rule of editing is if you can say the same thing with fewer words, you should always do that. Examiners hate wordy writing. Because you've already said this, right?
Yeah. But we can't refer saying it also, right?
An official. So let's get rid of this because you don't need it. Since it helps people to find any topic swiftly, unlike in the past. Yeah, this definitely doesn't belong here. That's for the body paragraph.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. We've got another one. All right, Zuby. There is. There is an ongoing debate. What word goes here, Zuby?
About?
Yep. Flow about whether quick and unmonitored. Let's put it like this. The quick and unmonitored flow of information is dangerous or beneficial to the society. Okay. In my opinion. What's missing after in my opinion?
Comma.
Yeah. And that's, you can hear that pause. In my opinion, quick. So instead of quick, we're going to say instantaneous. That's the new word. Uncontrolled spread of information is dangerous to society because of the following reasons. If you're either say this and then don't say anything else.
Okay.
The reason again is in the marking criteria, the criteria talk about the development of ideas, but that refers to the body paragraphs.
Okay.
You're not getting marks for development of ideas in your introduction. That's not where a reader expects to find it.
But
Okay,
I
so
thought you tell us to give 2 reasons, that's why.
you can, but then we've got a language issue. You've spent way too much time doing this, like probably 20 minutes. There's no need to.
Okay.
Just quick and dirty thesis is acceptable because of the following reasons. If you can do it quickly, then let's do here. Is dangerous to the society because what's the shortest summary of your first reason? In your own words. Because of what?
Without any source information, like people don't confirm the source and they will spread the news. Like if the information is there, people don't usually don't look who is like spreading the information, and they will spread it without doing it.
Because the information is often unreliable.
Yes.
And what's the
Yeah.
second reason?
News forums to change the people perspective. Communities or people use news forums to change people's perspective regarding certain issues.
That's the same reason, right?
No.
Because okay, so what's the problem with news forums? Why is that problematic?
I like some if I give you there are some bloggers and there are some media groups who are actually protecting the cause of some politicians, and they keep spreading the news. So, and people will start believing, like people will change their perspective because the news is they are changing. They are trying to change the mind.
One word. Biased.
Biased. Okay.
Biased is the opposite of what? What's the opposite of biased?
Biased means taking favor.
Taking sides.
Yeah, sides.
Equals not neutral.
Yeah.
Not neutral, not objective.
That's, yeah.
Objective means it's not leaning towards one side or the other. It's just the facts.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? So you're basically putting too much information in your thesis, in your introductory paragraph, as far as IELTS is concerned. You don't need to do it, and you absolutely shouldn't do it because it's taking you too long. And you're spending a lot of time on something that's not going to give you a higher mark. It's actually going to result in a lower mark because you're spending time on the intro instead of on the body where all your marks actually are. So do the shortest possible intro. Just paraphrase the prompt and just state your opinion and either say, and I agree for the following reasons, or I agree because really, really short, because the information is often unreliable and biased. And this summarizes what you're saying very briefly. So then I know your first body paragraph is going to be about how the information is unreliable, and your second body paragraph is going to be about how the information is biased. There's no need for any more in the thesis. Okay, coffee break?
Okay.
Yay!
All right. All right. Let's make it 10 minutes, okay?
Okay.
So 10 minutes, and I'll see you shortly. We'll go through a model, and then we'll get to our grammar lesson.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, see you in a few.
See you in a bit.
Okay, and we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go through a model here. Here we go. Okay, let's go through this model. Modern society, for the first time in history, has instantaneous access to unlimited amounts of unfiltered information online. Despite the convenience, this is detrimental to our health and safety. First, easy access to online medical information is hazardous to people's health. A large percentage of internet searches are for health information and advice, but many of the results come from unqualified sources. It's easy to find mistaken advice from people with dubious credentials teaching how to cure severe illness using alternative treatments. According to statistics published by the World Health Organization in 2019, the rate of people who stop following medical recommendations to try inappropriate treatments has been increasing steadily. In my own family, my uncle, who suffers from diabetes, stopped taking his doctor-prescribed medicine to try an unscientific therapy shared on the internet. After several weeks of this treatment, my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition and almost passed away. This issue would not have happened if he had not had access to such unprofessional information shared on the internet. Another example that shows why unlimited access to information is dangerous is Google Maps. Although this tool is useful for optimizing travel routes, criminals use it to help them commit crimes. Using Google Maps, criminals have detailed information about the surroundings of a place they intend to rob, such as possible escape routes from the police. Moreover, Google Maps provides aerial photographic views, so criminals also have detailed information about the landscape, allowing them to find geographic features behind which they can hide, such as trees on a property. Just this week, Toronto Police shared information about criminal organizations using Google Maps in this way to determine how to approach properties and stay out of the line of sight of security cameras. For this reason too, uncontrolled access to information can endanger our safety. To summarize, instant access to unreliable health information as well as uncontrolled access to map information endanger both the health and safety of society. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about the vocabulary? Yeah, go ahead.
I do have one, yes. In the first body paragraph, after steadily, you say in my own family.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say in my family?
Sure.
I mean, what's the difference between in my own family and my family?
Nothing. People just add this word for emphasis. It doesn't need to be there. You can get rid of it. You can leave it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, Thank you.
What does dubious mean?
Doubt.
Doubt, confused,
Doubtful. Doubtful.
doubtful. Okay.
It's often used in an expression like, this information is of dubious origin. This information is of dubious origin. Right? That means the source of the information is unreliable. What does detrimental mean?
Dramatically.
No. Despite the convenience, this is detrimental to our health and safety. What do you think detrimental could mean from the context?
Not good.
Not
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a super fancy word for bad. Should definitely use that word. Here, you've got a good word, optimizing. So instead of saying finding the best travel routes, you've got one word, optimizing, which means finding the best.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see how you do with a point form version of this information. Let's start with, Zuby this time. Okay, Zuby, so all I've done here is this outline is the exact same thing as the essay we just read. And we're not necessarily trying to recreate the essay perfectly. We're just trying to make our own version and then compare it to the original. So our time together is quite limited for class time, so you have to use strategies to help yourself write. So in order to improve your writing skills on your own, first step is to model by rewriting the original 1 to 3 times. Okay, by hand.
Okay.
Don't retype it, rewrite it by hand, pencil and paper. We want to in the second step, you want to transform the original into an outline. Then write the essay based on the outline. Compare to the original and critique. The same day or the next, put all your notes away, and based on what you remember or changing the ideas if you want to, write your own version. Show me your work and then revise based on my feedback. Okay. It is a time-consuming process, I won't lie, but it works. It takes time, but it works. Okay, Zuby, let's begin. Let's do the intro.
Okay. So we can say in a modern society, this is first, the use of technology is, okay,
Sorry.
jumping here. In a modern society, this is first time in a history that instant access to the unlimited amount of unfiltered information online. Online is
Good. So we just need something here. In modern society, this is the first time in history. Now, how do we connect this grammatically?
history that access to the limited amount of unfiltered information that is not a is that is
Well, we're missing a subject and a verb here. This is the first time in history that something instantaneous access
this modern technology
that we have, that people have.
that we have
This is the first time in history that we have instantaneous access.
to unlimited amount of unfiltered information online.
Yes. The other way to do it is this is the first time in history with instantaneous access, but this is good.
Unfiltered information online, despite the convenience.
Good.
Detrimental. It is despite the convenience, it is detrimental to the health and safety of society.
Very nice. Okay, let's continue with Chamri. We're doing body, paragraph 1. Zubi, that was very well done.
Thank you.
I always get stuck when converting this into the normal sentence.
That's the challenge. It's
I
turning
know.
ideas into full sentences with good grammar. Let's go ahead. Topic sentence.
Okay.
So here I've also indicated the purpose of each sentence. So here you've got trees paragraph structure.
Okay.
Right, and this is reason is your development of the ideas in general. Then you've got your evidence, your example, your significance. Okay, go ahead. We're doing this one right now first.
Okay, I'll try my best. The easy access to online medical information is to begin with, right?
Good, you need a transition. To begin with.
To begin with, easy access to online medical information is hazardous to people's health and safety. Okay.
Health is the first one.
Okay.
If you look at our thesis, it is despite the convenience, it is detrimental to health and safety of society, to the health and safety of society. So health is the focus of our first body paragraph.
Okay.
Safety is the focus of our second body paragraph. So we're just dealing with health. And this is, paragraphs should have a single controlling idea. And these are comments that I've occasionally left for everyone here, is that if there's anything in this body paragraph that's not related to health of society, it doesn't belong there. Okay, so to begin with, easy access to online medical information is hazardous to people's health. Good. It's a simple, straightforward topic sentence. My preference is always for shorter topic sentences that very quickly establish what that paragraph is about.
Okay.
Then you go into longer sentences afterwards, but start with a nice, straightforward topic sentence. Okay, reason.
For example.
We're not in the, okay, let's see how that works out. Let's see how that works. Okay, go ahead.
For example, large percentage of internet searchers is on the health information and advices.
we need a verb here. A large percentage of internet searches are related to or relate to.
Okay, are related to the health information
And advice.
and advice.
Advice is uncountable.
Okay, and advice causing many results from unqualified sources.
Does that cause the results?
Resulting, no, it's there. Leading to?
No. Yeah, they might lead to. Okay. So let's say which often
Lead to?
many results from unqualified sources. Right, because a lot of the results are from legitimate sources, but a lot of them are to unqualified sources too. For example, a large percentage of internet searches are related to health information and advice. It's a little bit unclear, which often lead to. Okay, I like your original suggestion better. Often leading to many results from unqualified sources. Okay, good.
Because it is easy to find mistake.
Okay, we don't have to put it all together in one sentence. Say it is easy.
It is easy to find mistake. It is easy to find mistaken advice. What
From
is
who?
this? Advice
Mm-hmm.
from unqualified people.
From unqualified people with
Wrong mistake.
dubious credentials.
Dubious credentials, yeah, with dubious credentials. Again, can we say leading to cure severe illness using alternate? No. Credentials. Causing there? Causing?
What do these people with dubious credentials suggest? Suggesting with dubious credentials, who suggest
Cure severe illness using alternative treatments. Jan, dubious is that wrong, or what does it mean?
of doubtful origin.
Okay. Okay. So
It's like a doctor with a degree from Scarborough Medical College, right?
Okay.
For example, a large percentage of internet searches are related to health information and advice, often leading to many results from unqualified sources. It's easy to find mistaken advice from unqualified people with dubious credentials who suggest cures for severe illness or illnesses using alternative treatments. Okay. Okay, that's good.
Okay. As per the World Health Organization, as per a study done by World Health Organization in 2019.
Good, or an even simpler intro, just according to. This is the most common way to introduce evidence. According to the World Health Organization, or according to research
Conduct
conducted by the World
World
Health.
in 2019.
Yep.
People people have stopped following medical recommendation.
You got to put this all together.
It's difficult for me.
I know. Remember, it's the rate of people doing this that's been increasing. So start with, you put this at the beginning.
Rate. Okay. Who stops? Who stopped following medical? It should be stopped, right? Who stopped? ED? No.
You can see who have stopped, present perfect. Recommendations.
Stopped following medical recommendation for trying for inappropriate treatments. The treatments increased steadily. Has increased steadily.
Okay.
Has been.
According to research conducted by the World Health Organization in 2019, the rate of people who have stopped following medical recommendations to try inappropriate treatments has been increasing steadily. Go ahead, one more time.
Evidence, according to research conducted by the World Health Organization in 2019, the rate of people who have stopped following medical recommendations to try inappropriate treatments has been increasing steadily.
Okay.
For example, my uncle, my uncle who suffered from diabetes.
Suffers from diabetes.
Diabetes. Suffers or suffered?
Oh, if he's dead, suffered. If he's still alive, then suffers.
Okay. Who suffers from diabetes? Stop taking
Doctor prescribed medicine.
stop taking doctor prescribed medicine. And has tried on scientific therapy shared on internet.
So we'll do an unscientific therapy shared on the internet. Okay, what happened?
After several weeks.
Yep.
So my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition, has almost
After several weeks, my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition and almost passed away. Go ahead.
That's mean like he's not dead, but he was about to die, right?
Yeah, he almost died.
Okay. Okay. So
can you do this one more time?
After several weeks, my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition and almost passed away.
Okay. Let's read with a little bit more drama. When people ask about improving their speaking score and we're mostly dealing with writing, but when people talk about speaking on IELTS, what IELTS is looking for isn't pronunciation, but blends and stresses. Those are the main things.
Yeah.
Stresses mean that every clause, every phrase has a key idea, and that key idea should be stressed. So I would say after several weeks, my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition and almost passed away. You got to put a little bit of drama in it.
Oh, okay.
One more time.
After several weeks, my uncle ended up in the hospital in critical condition and almost passed away.
Yeah, critical condition, and he almost passed away. Okay.
Critical condition and almost passed away.
Okay, good. Final sentence.
It is clear.
Mm-hmm.
It is clear that this issue would not have happened if there's no access. If there is no access to unchecked. Happen if there is no access.
Access to what?
Access to unchecked facts.
Okay. So past unreal conditional, this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked
Facts.
or unchecked advice.
Advice.
Because it's not a fact, right?
Yeah.
It's advice that hasn't been checked.
Okay.
It's clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice. Now, this is almost a tongue twister, this past unreal conditional.
Yes.
Can you do it one more time fluently?
Yeah. It is clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice.
Okay. Now, can you do it again without looking? Can you memorize that one sentence?
Oh, no.
It's clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice. Just don't look at the text.
No, it's not easy.
Everyone needs to do this because this is past unreal conditional. People screw it up all the time, but it's very important. Past unreal conditional is the language of regret. Every time you're talking about what you wish you hadn't done or what you wish you had avoided, you have to use past unreal. It's really, really important. So first of all, you got to go through the lessons in the course for unreal conditional, past, present, and mixed. But here, this is a good opportunity. Just a couple times practice saying this fluently.
We'll memorize it.
It's clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not
had.
Keep going.
It's clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice.
This issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice. Quick.
It is clear that this issue would not have happened if he had not had access to unchecked advice.
Right. So we have to work on the fluency because it's very choppy. I can hear every word distinctly.
Yeah.
And that's the cutoff. Below 7, intermediate level English, people tend to speak
Slow.
It's not just slow, it's what's called syllable timed. So everyone who's learning a new language, their speech is characterized by syllable timing. And what that means is people spend roughly the same amount of time on each syllable. It's not fluent. It's one syllable after another. 7 and above, what they're expecting is long blends. And the way you speak in your native language, the way anyone speaks in their native language, is things that are said often, they get squashed, squashed, squashed even more because people say them so often, they develop like these more efficient ways of saying them. It's clear that. People don't say it is clear that. It's clear that. This issue would not have happened, would not have happened, would not have happened if he had not had access to, if he hadn't had access to. And see, and you almost can't distinguish between the different words. If he hadn't had access to, if he hadn't had access to this unchecked advice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's for us, it's very difficult. So we have to really practice to say that together.
Mm-hmm. All right, any questions about that paragraph? Okay, let's do the next one, and let's choose Kelly.
Why I have the... I knew you were going to ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now it's body paragraph 2, topic 2.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Map.
And this one we're not using so much evidence as we are an extended example, an extended reason with explanation and an example. Okay, go ahead. We got to start with a transition, right? As she started with to begin with, now we've got our second point.
Mm-hmm. Furthermore, we said Google Map. Using Google Map. I'm stuck now. Google Maps. Google Maps can be harmful.
Mm-hmm.
To society. Can we say for the following reason?
Mm-hmm. Let's say map apps like Google Maps can be harmful to society.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Map apps like Google Maps can be harmful to society.
Mm-hmm.
Although such tools are useful for optimizing travel routes, but criminals use to help commit crimes.
To help them.
To help them to commit crime or commit crimes.
Both are fine.
Okay.
Criminals use them.
Use them to help to commit crimes.
Okay, we can say criminals use them to help commit crimes, or criminals use them to help them commit crimes. Okay.
It's quite confusing using them 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I will probably, yeah. For me to read is a little bit confused.
Confusing. Okay.
Yeah, it's confusing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to tell into
Map apps.
Map apps show detailed
information. RE is like regarding or about.
Oh, okay. Regarding the surrounding of a place they intend to
rob.
Rob?
Yeah. Steal from. Like a robber, bank robber, He's going to rob a bank.
And possibly escape.
Yeah.
Possible escape route from police.
Mm-hmm.
They also, comma.
Never.
Oh, they also. They also provide an aerial, or you just use it like that. They also provide aerial photographic views, which give us, or which give detailed
Information regarding
the landscape and geographic features to hide behind.
Good.
Such as trees. Camera. Example. For example, comma, this week the Toronto police share information about criminal organization.
Yeah, or we can say criminal gangs, organizations.
That approach properties and state, which approach, or that approach properties. Okay, hold on, let me read it first. For example, this week, the Toronto police shared information about criminal gangs that state to approach
that use such information that we talked about in the previous couple sentences.
To approach properties?
How?
And stay out of line of sight of security cameras. And the line.
For example, this week, the Toronto police shared information regarding criminal gangs that use such information to approach properties and stay out of the line of sight of security cameras.
What it means, the line of sight?
So you have a line of sight. It's what you can see. If something is outside of your line of sight, you can't see it. So if you know where a security camera is, you can tell what that security camera can see and what it cannot see.
Okay.
Right? It's got a range of views. And if you know where the camera's pointed, then you can choose your approach to stay outside of its visible area. Right?
Okay.
That's what stay out of the line of sight means.
Okay.
For example, if there's a rule for, just a kind of random example, but if you're flying a drone, like a remote control drone, and you're a beginner, it has to remain in your line of sight at all times. You can't fly it where you cannot see it. You're not allowed.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're at the final sentence. What's a common way to begin a significant statement?
For this reason. And uncontrolled access.
Just uncontrolled access.
access to information in danger safety. Uncontrolled access to information endangers safety?
Yep, that's it.
Endangers. Yeah. Plural.
It's not plural. This is just the verb because this is third person singular. So I misspoke earlier too. The S on a verb is not plural. This is one of the wacky things about English. It's third person plural. He endangers, she endangers, it endangers, uncontrolled access to information endangers safety. That's all you need. You don't need more than that.
So, in conclusion?
We'll let...
Sorry.
Okay, good stuff. Let's get Zubi to do the last one.
Okay. Instant access to unreliable information.
Great, and that was a good transition. In summary and conclusion, you can say therefore.
Instant access to, okay, therefore, instant access to unreliable health information and uncontrolled access to map information endangers health and safety of society. Endangers the health and safety of society. This society, of the society.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is open to interpretation, that these, you can think of these as a unitary idea, and then it's endangers, but these are really two things, and I think most people would put an S, they would just consider this as plural, and they wouldn't put endangers, they would just put endanger. Instant access to unreliable health information, that's the first thing, and uncontrolled access to map info, that's the second thing. Both these things together endanger the health and safety of society.
Okay. So no need to put S here.
No.
Okay.
You could consider this as a singular concept, but I don't think most people would, and I don't think, if there's ever a situation where something is open to interpretation, then do it in the most typical way. If it looks like two things, just treat it as two things. Endanger the health and safety of society. Okay. Any questions?
I think this one was a very challenging for me. I think it's the vocabulary.
There's some new vocabulary. Also, there's maybe new ways of thinking about this topic that we hadn't considered previously, because most people think about hacking.
Correct. It's very easy to make mistake with this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's easy to make mistakes with all the prompts. It's easy to misinterpret them and to answer them in a different way that ends up being off topic. Sorry, Olga, go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I just have another, in here in the, for example, large percentage internet searches, in that paragraph, how can we stress more that phrase? Who suggests, like who wrongly suggests, how could be here? Because you're talking about, yeah, in the end, at the end of this paragraph, you know, you're talking about to put your life when you are very sick, like with a severe illness, right? In here, how can you say, like, how could be like another stronger word in here, you know, from unqualified people with odious credential who wrongly suggest, who risky suggest, or whom?
Well, you're already saying unqualified people, you're already saying dubious credentials, then I don't think we need to say who mistakenly suggest or who wrongly suggest. I mean, you could put that adverb in here. I just don't think it's necessary. It's up to you, though. Who incorrectly.
With risking life suggest, I don't know.
Who mistakenly.
Okay. I just got that in my head. I just said when you got something in your head.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, you can put these adverbs in if you feel that makes it stronger.